So we are officially in the middle of the 2024 Summer League, and we're about to see some of the best guys in this draft class go at it. And one thing I hope for this Summer League is that fans don't overreact to anyone's performances, whether good or bad. I remember after like Wemby's first Summer League game last year, which was pretty mediocre, people were ready to call him a bust and overrated and things like that. Then he proceeds to win the Rookie of the Year award and gives us one of the greatest rookie seasons in recent memory. So take the Summer League for what it is. It's just an opportunity for some of these guys to get their feet wet in some pro basketball action and get acclimated as much as possible to the NBA. And of course, there are a number of guys that I am very interested in watching during these games who I think are going to make a big impact in year one. And that got me thinking, who are the guys out of this class that are most likely to win the Rookie of the Year award? What's unique about this class is there's no clear-cut best player, so it's 100% up for grabs, and the conversation may be as open as we've ever seen it be. And there are about 3 players who, if I'm in the sport of making predictions, which I am, I think are going to make strong cases for the award once the season gets started. And I'm going to start with no other than Rob Dillingham from Kentucky, who was picked up by the Timberwolves. So Rob is in a very interesting situation in Minnesota. The Wolves are coming off of a West Finals appearance, and they are definitely championship contenders next season. So for Rob, he is in a really ideal situation for a young guard. He has the opportunity to play for a team that is likely going to get deep in the playoffs. And generally speaking, rookies who are in rotations on really good teams usually do pretty well. Look at guys like Ben Simmons, Chet Holmgren, hell, even Jason Tatum in his rookie year. We've seen a trend of highly touted draftees who do well when given big minutes on really good teams. And Rob could be the next guy who will follow this trend. I think his year one journey is going to be pretty interesting. For one, I don't think he's going to be a starter out of the gate, but given that Mike Conley is getting a bit older, I could see a general increase in Rob's minutes and prominence in the lineup as the season goes on. Think about it. Conley, as solid as he is, isn't the same shot creator that he used to be. So there are going to be a ton of times where Chris Finch calls on Rob's number. And I think he's going to take perfect advantage of his opportunities, just like he did coming off the bench for Kentucky last season. And I also think that the defensive culture that the Wolves have is going to rub off on him, so expect him to do well on that end as well. Next up, as a Rookie of the Year favorite, is Alex Sarr. So let's face it, it's a free-for-all in Washington this coming season. The team is going to be pretty bad, which is fine given that they are in a rebuilding situation, just year 2 of their post-Bradley Beal rebuild. And a guy like Alex Sarr, who has the wide amount of talent that he has, is going to have a ton of freedom to do his thing with limited team expectations. Think about it. He's a super athletic big with elite finishing ability, shot blocking, and can get up and down the floor in transition, both without the ball and with it in his hands. And he could even stretch the floor to knock down shots a bit, as he has that type of upside. His skill set just shouts out future all-star. And he does seem genuinely happy to be here in Washington, which is a recipe for success. No doubt he will be a big focal point of their offense, as he's their highest draft pick since Bradley Beal, and that could lead to a good amount of usage in year 1. Only downside is there are a few other bigs in the Wizards rotation, so there could be some competition, which could lead to some limitations for him. There's Rashawn Holmes, Marvin Bagley, and Jonas Valanciunas here. But with that aside, I really think Sarr has the makings of a Rookie of the Year contender, and I'd be surprised if he doesn't impress in year 1. Last guy who I think will be hot in the Rookie of the Year conversation is Zach Edey. I did a video on this a couple of days ago, so please hear me out on this one. I was not the biggest fan of Zach Edey at all in college, but I could not ignore the fact that he was super effective and dominant on that level and improved year in and year out. And similar to Rob Dillingham, he's in a situation where he'll be playing on a contender in year 1. A healthy Grizzlies team led by John Morant, Jaren Jackson, Desmond Bane, and Marcus Smart is going to be very tough to stop in the West. And if he ends up being a starter out of the gate, I think he can do a lot of damage on that roster. Playing with Ja could open up a lot of easy looks for him, maybe as a roll man out of pick and roll scenarios. He'll be a huge target for Ja to find in the paint, and this should generate some easy looks for him. On top of that, I think his size will give this Grizzlies team a ton of advantages on the boards, as he was number 1 in the Big Ten in rebounds and offensive rebounds last season. And this is perfect because the Grizzlies struggled as a rebounding team last year. And as far as the defense, I know there are concerns, but there are also some things to be excited about. For one, I watched some film, and there is some evidence of him being good in drop coverage situations and some examples of him doing well with guarding and switches. And with the Grizzlies coaching staff, which has been known to construct elite defenses and do well with player development, I think they'll do what they need to do to get Zach Edey right on that end. So it's a good situation. He's on a contender who could utilize him in important scenarios, and that could be a recipe for success in year 1. So those are 3 players who I think could be contenders for the Rookie of the Year award, and I will definitely be keeping an eye on them throughout the Summer League. And no doubt there are other players players who I think could make a run for the award. Again, with the way this class is, it's really tough to single out one or two guys. So I'll definitely keep an eye on these players' development and hope for the absolute best for them throughout the summer league and throughout their first seasons in the NBA.